Welcome to another episode of OG55. I got the Italiano. I got Mr. Michael Webba and theme park conductor with me today. We're talking all about Disneyland Forward. It's official. Blow the whistle. It got approved. The last hurdle is done. We are officially a go. June 7th is actually the one it begins, but it is official. Everything has been voted on. We're going to talk about it, and we're also going to talk about what it might mean in terms of lands, attractions here at the Disneyland Resort. Welcome to OG 5055. Welcome aboard, everybody. I look at George with the you got the giggles, George?
I do.
Looks like
I
it.
do because it's actually funny because I have to be on my phone for this, so I don't see the intro, but I see all of you. So I just see you, OG, just rocking to the beat.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's a catchy theme song. You know what I'm saying? It's a catchy theme song. But the Italiano, if you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media, sir, from your undisclosed location.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There it is. There he is. Theme park conductor. Now, you've been on this channel a few times now, but it's been a couple of months. It's great to have you back, man.
It's great to be back. It's great to see everyone. It's great to talk about this wonderful, exciting news that the citizens of Disneyland are hopefully going to see in the future. I'm super excited.
Yeah, great news. Great news. Conductor, if you could just remind everybody where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. On Twitter, formerly known as X, you can find me at Theme Conductor. On Instagram, you can find me at Theme Park Conductor. And on my home base, on YouTube, you can find me at Theme Park Conductor, where I conduct the news for you wherever I'm conducting from.
That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. And I will be linking all of his socials in his socials, but not his social security number.
Yeah, not that.
Not that. His YouTube, his Twitter, and Instagram, and all that will be down in the description below. Make sure you follow him on all platforms. And again, Conductor, thank you for joining us, sir. Appreciate you. Absolutely. And down below, we got our friendly neighborhood, our OG 55, Spider-Man over here, Welcome back, Mr. Webba.
Of course, OG. Thank you again, as always, for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here, and I can't wait to talk about this news. Super exciting. This is history in the making.
Absolutely. If you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Of course, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and here on OG55, Mr. Webba at Webslinger760.
There he is. And Mr. Webba's going through a little bit of a rebrand right now. He's got some really dope profile pics for Twitter and his YouTube channel and everything. So check it out. He's doing big things.
Yes. And also, real quick, I just want to say that I want to thank the OG55 crew, OG and George, and all the OG community. You guys have inspired me to do this. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. We love you,
Absolutely.
Mr. Webba.
Glad to help because your first one was in the pits.
Don't make him laugh too hard. He's getting over a cold. He's gonna cough. All right, let's dive right in, boys. Okay, so this is from deadline.com. Disney's $1.9 billion Disneyland Forward plan gets final approval from the Anaheim City Council. Major changes set for Walt's original park. Hey, kudos to Deadline for that. Walt's original park. I kind of like that. That was cool. It says here, the Anaheim City Council gave final approval today for Disneyland Forward, the $1.9 billion multi-decade expansion for Walt's original park. Today, a 7-0 procedural vote, unanimous vote, approving the project in April. The zoning and other changes laid out by the plan to take effect in 30 days. So we've been covering this a lot on the channel. This is a zoning initiative. So Disney can take its current property, its hotel parking and various things like that, and turn it into theme park space now. Very exciting stuff. This doesn't kick in officially, though, even though it's approved, until June 7th. George, the Italiano, what are your thoughts on this thing getting approved, brother?
This is, as Mike had mentioned, this is history in the making. This is something that was well overdue for the Disneyland Resort. I'm so glad that with all the hard work and dedication, with working with Disney, working with the city of Anaheim, the residents, the businesses, that they finally can open another chapter, so to speak, in the book, and create a magical vacation destination that could possibly, maybe not fully be up to the same par as Walt Disney World, but that can give families the opportunity to say, you know what, we feel like spending a week in California. Let's spend more than just 1 or 2 days at Disneyland. Let's maybe even encouraging them to stay on property. I know that the Disneyland hotels are very expensive, and they're probably even going to get even more expensive on top of those ticket prices once this is all starting to get kind of underway. But I'm very excited. I'm very optimistic. I'm very happy. And I know right now it's for zoning, and a lot of people say, well, what's zoning going to do? Zoning is going to do a massive contribution to the resort, and it will allow for new lands, new attractions, new restaurants, possibly new hotels, and honestly, fingers crossed for that third gate for Disneyland. I think we're all waiting for that.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. A lot of locals, a lot of Disney fans say, well, Disneyland Resort will never be Walt Disney World. So, just stay a locals park and just do what you do, and just stay in that locals park kind of box. I strongly disagree with that. And to be honest with you, nothing is going to be Walt Disney World. There's never going to be any resort on the planet that will ever be Walt Disney World. It's a unicorn. And if that's going to be the threshold to build a resort, well, then nothing will ever be a resort. So I think Disneyland can be a tourist destination, right? Like you were saying, George. Maybe it won't be the super destination like Walt Disney World, but it doesn't have to be. If they can bring in more tourism, bring in more international guests, bring in more even domestic guests, to stay more longer days on property, that's a huge win. And I think they can do that with a third park, more hotels, more expansions. I think it's a positive thing. Mr. Conductor, what are your thoughts on this?
So my thoughts are, I'm extremely happy. I agree with George that the Disneyland Resort is way overdue for this, and I'm glad that last night's vote was unanimous. There was no no's to the vote, so I'm happy about that. Again, it all comes down to now what we're going to see on June 7th, and what can the Anaheim Resort compared to Walt Disney World, compared to other Disney parks out of the country, Tokyo and all that. What can the Disneyland Resort bring to SoCal residents, bring to tourists around the world that want to go to Walt's original park? Because I agree with you, OG55. Nothing, even the Disneyland Resort, even if they had the third gate, cannot compare to Walt Disney World. But we can make it unique. We can, bring Walt's vision, like just as a reference. If any of your followers watch Hey Bricky, I would recommend watch Hey Bricky, because he breaks down a lot of that stuff, how the Disneyland Resort can be unique in itself by bringing a lot of Walt's visions back from the boneyard, as I call it, and putting a new touch on it. So I'm very happy that we got this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Ken Potrock and the Disneyland Resort has to offer in the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, no, well said, Conductor. And it's like Universal too. It's like, the Universal Orlando Resort is an animal in and of itself for domestic parks, right? Because Universal Hollywood will never be that kind of resort. They're just not enough space, and they can work around stuff and make hotels like they're planning to do and all that stuff, but it will never be Orlando, and that's okay. But just because it's never going to be the Orlando Resort doesn't mean that you don't try to get more of those tourist dollars. And I commend Universal for trying with the new hotel and what have you. So both of these companies are doing fantastic things. Mr. Webba, what are your thoughts on Disneyland Forward finally getting approved, sir?
Right. So as a fan, I'm super excited. this is super awesome. I cannot wait to see that, whatever comes over here, restaurants, theme park, rides, all that stuff, right? I'm super excited, and I just want to like congratulate everybody on the Disney team and, others who were on the whole community outreach stuff with Disney and, trying to get this done for the past 3 years, very great job. Good job, Disney, and everybody else who worked on it. I'm very happy you guys did an excellent job of, working with the community and the city, trying to get this approved. Like what theme park conductor said, we got the 7 yes, 0 no's, which is awesome. That means everybody is on board. So let's get this. We just saw some stuff in Tokyo. Let's get that, guys, right over here.
Yeah, exactly. And we do have a statement actually from all the people that were opposed to Disneyland Forward.
I'm the biggest hater. I'm the biggest hater. I hate the way that you walk.
Yeah, there we go. That's the official statement from everyone who was not in support of this project. But I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. But no, it's a great day for Disneyland Resort. Absolutely. But I wanted to touch upon you guys like this because now that it's approved, we're good on there. Like I want to see where your guys' heads are at in terms of like what's going to happen here, right? Because this is basically. This isn't blueprints. This is basically like a what if scenario, possibly. So with this, they kind of said like, okay, we're going to have DCA is going to expand out into the symbol lot. You can see that they're right behind Disneyland Drive. And then on the other side, right over here, is the Disneyland. Oh, let me go ahead and I'll show you. Like right over here is where they would expand Disneyland, right? So I'll start with you, George. What are your thoughts on this kind of setup here? We've talked about it might being kind of an unusual sort of layout for the park, and I'll kind of elaborate on that too in reference to Tokyo. But do you think this could work for the expansion, or do you think it kind of leaves an awkward layout for these theme parks?
It definitely has its challenges that Disney's going to have to kind of finagle with the land, especially since you have a group of hotels, in between all that land. And I know Tom Corliss from WDWNT had mentioned, there's a possibility Disney is eyeing all that land for the third gate. I have to respectfully disagree for that notion. I can see the third gate more so coming to the Toy Story parking lot, even though that has challenges within itself. But we have to remember this project is a 40-year plan. Everything is not going to be done overnight. First things first, Disney has to get all the zoning changed. They have to create the Eastern Gateway. They have to reroute the security checkpoints, the bus loading area. All that has to be done before they even consider on doing anything with park expansions or even the third gate. Now, as far as with this land goes, I foresee it to be more of an expansion pads for both Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. I do remember Jim Shaw posted on social media kind of like his own kind of blueprint idea of what he would see. He would have like a fantasy section that would be more geared towards Disneyland, and then an adventure section that would be more geared towards DCA. I kind of see it in that route. But in order for them to do that also, because now that Disneyland Drive isn't really now going to be part of the equation, it's going to stay a road that they are going to have to build a walking bridge or a pathway into these different expanded areas. And I remember when I met up with Mike at California, we kind of like walked through downtown Disney, and he was showing me of how you can be on a bridge without even knowing that you're on a bridge, which actually I never even really paid attention to it, of how, you can kind of see like the streets and the freeway from above downtown Disney. And that's, I think, kind of what they would have to do, and then just kind of have like a facade kind of thing to kind of block out moving traffic. Or they could also do kind of like a indoor kind of tunnel type of thing that transports you from one section to the park to the other. But I think the Disney's biggest challenge is maneuvering around those hotels. Now, one might say that the Pixar Place Hotel, I think, eventually is going to be probably demolished and probably a new hotel rerouted somewhere else on property once they get the the Eastern Gateway going. The Disneyland Hotel, obviously, I don't really see any change in that in the foreseeable future, being that they just added the new DVC tower to it. But
Right.
I'm very curious to see, and I kind of take it more as a positive than a negative, because knowing Disney, they love to do things that's so creative that we may not understand. But then when they do it, it's like, oh man, that seems so simple. Why didn't I think of that sort of scenario? So I think that would be the biggest challenge, is integrating these new expanded areas while having the hotels near the property.
Yeah, well said. Well said. What do you think, Conductor?
Well, I agree with George, and I think it's going to take time to obviously do all the zoning and all that. Like George said, it's not going to be overnight. It's not going to take a month. It's going to take a long while. So if I were Disney, one of the first things I would do, especially since we're going to be losing more parking, I would look at that Eastern Gateway hard and start to really push hard to try to, start building on that, because that's going to add parking back. And then from there, then you can kind of design a plan how to think of what lands go where, and go from there. Obviously, like George said, you have all these hotels you have to work in and out of, and hopefully, Disney can acquire that whole area where they're not going to have that problem. But if I were Disney, I would really push hard for that Eastern Gateway. Now that we know for sure that Disneyland Forward is fully approved, that's what I would do personally. That way, that's already established, and then you build from there.
No, well said, Conductor. Yeah, you got to get the infrastructure in there first. You got to get the parking in there, because you're going to be replacing a lot of parking here. Like that symbol lot over here for the DCA expansion is parking, and you're losing all of that for this theme park space. So you got to get an alternative parking spot, a parking structure over there at the Eastern Gateway before you even touch this. So we're talking at least, maybe 2 or 3 years to get that Eastern Gateway done, because I think the Pixar Pal parking took about 2 years to do. So this one probably about the same. Get that done, and then you can start diving into these areas. What do you think, Mr. Webba, about this whole kind of setup here with the DCA expansion and the Disneyland expansion? You digging it, or is it kind of weird, awkward layouts?
So I have like multiple different mindsets on this, right? So it's kind of awkward in a sense, because you have Disneyland, right? And when you look at it on on a map, it has kind of like that circular shape. Now you're adding this other piece, which kind of makes, I don't know, it's kind of extends it out this way. So you go through the gate, and then it goes all the way this way, right? I mean, hey, whatever. But it's like, I'm trying to figure out, like, let's say this is what it is, right? Let's say this is what it is. Are we not going to have trams anymore? Because now it's like all of that's cutting into all that tram space. And because that's where all the parking is and stuff like that, right? So that's where it's going to cut all into. But then my other thought as well is with like the bridges, what George was talking about, right? Because here we have potentially like 3-4 bridges or so going across that way. So you gotta have to kind of conceal that, so it's not as obvious that you're like leaving the park, because you want to be in the bubble, right? Then my other thought is that, okay, let's say this whole thing was just like, let's say that whole thing was not an expansion, but that was the whole other third park. Right. Personally, I would actually like that, because now you have a park, and a park, right? They're all close together, right? And, I know there's a big proponent for a Toy Story lot becoming the third gate, which is fine as well. And I'm not gonna resist another park, right? But it's just like that. That's a park you'd have to kind of go out of your way for, right? You have to kind of leave the Disneyland section, go out. So I think if you had a third gate there, it's a nice cohesive thing. So you go from Disneyland to third gate to DCA. It's easier to park hop, I think.
Yeah, and here you're right, Webba. But here's the other thing too that plays to your point with that. If it's a third gate, this area, you can do the Fantasy Springs thing and the Frozen thing, and it makes sense. The issue with it being expansions out to Disneyland and out to DCA is that, and it looks like the Arendelle and the Fantasy Springs are on the table, because Ken Potrock, president of Disneyland, went to Asia a couple months ago. He talked about it. I mean, that's not, you know, they were not, it was not super secret. He went over there to check those areas out. They're definitely eyeballing that for these expansions. But here's the problem. If it's an expansion of Disneyland, right, and you do Arendelle or you do Fantasy Springs, it becomes a redundancy issue, because now you essentially have two fantasy lands in one park. And I think that's kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? What do you think about that, George? Does it could be like, cause, and none of those properties fit in DCA. I mean, theme wise, right? You can't put Fantasy Springs in DCA. You can't put Arendelle. That doesn't make any sense. So it becomes a redundancy issue for me personally when you add that into Disneyland, the expansion, because now, like you said, you have two fantasy lands. Am I crazy? Or
that's where Mike's point is correct on that. That's where it would fit as a third gate, because then you or sorry, that was yours, OG. Sorry, sorry, Mike. But as to Mike's point, as to your point, then yeah, I can see. Let me start over. Mike's point, I could see where it would work, as he was saying, with the theme park, the three theme parks together in one. And then OG, I could see your point where it's like the cohesiveness, it would be better as a third gate, because yes, if you were to build upon Arendelle or build upon Tangled, or heck, even if you want to go as far-fetched as building Neverland, you know, it's you kind of already have that offset from Fantasyland. So yeah, you basically have a Fantasyland 2.0 that's not even connected to Fantasyland. Now, like they got away with it sort of with Walt Disney World with New Fantasyland, but that's because it was the cohesiveness that it leads off out of the original Fantasyland.
Right, they were connected at least, right?
Correct. So yeah, so that's where I can definitely understand. I mean, you guys know me. I go balls to the wall. I mean, if you really want my opinion, I say if you wanted to do that, turn this area into a third gate, turn the Toy Story parking lot into a fourth gate, Disney by Garden Walk, turn that into your West Coast Disney Springs. You still have your downtown Disney. All's well's good in the world.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
but my one concern with this area in particular, being the third gate, is once this would become a third gate, hypothetically, it then landlocks DCA into any kind of future expansion. Right. Disneyland's fine. I think honestly, if Disneyland never gets touched again, as far as just getting updates, maybe taking out a very old attraction, replacing it with something new, I think Disneyland's fine for a while. DCA needs some massive help.
Yeah. They do, absolutely. Yeah, DCA needs that Avengers e-ticket, which we're going to touch upon, because that actually does have a Fantasy Springs connection, I think. But they need to do that Avengers ride. And you're right. If this becomes a third park, that whole symbol lot is off limits now for DCA. That could be a huge expansion for this park, and you lose that when it's a third park. So there's pros and cons to all this stuff, and that's what makes it kind of interesting. But what are your thoughts on this? Oh, go ahead, Webb. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I just wanted to say though, but remember in not this recent one, but in last month in April, Camp Power said that they already know what and where they want to build. So they already have this figured out. You know, we're over here trying to scratch our heads like, oh, what's going on? You know, they already know what they want to do and how it's going to work. So this is why it's very fascinating, because that means they know what IP they want to put it, where they want to put it, what type of probably attraction they want it to be, and how it's going to fit. And I find that very interesting.
And you have to also think so too, the direction that we're kind of looking at this map, we're looking at it horizontal,
right,
so to speak, because we're looking at it as a whole, because it's a new piece of property. But really, we should be looking at it vertically in the strips, so to speak. So it's like we should be looking at it vertically from the Simba parking lot down into DCA, and then over on the other section that runs into Disneyland.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and what the properties they decide here, it can be very interesting to see what happens, because even DCA, the strong rumor is that Avatar Pandora is going into DCA, and there's a few spots that can go in Hollywoodland, in that bus load unload area, and into like Monsters Inc. and things like that. That's a going rumor, and also it might go into the symbol lot, right?
I think that's where it's going.
Yeah,
I think it was only going into Hollywoodland only for the sake of if they had denied
forward.
the moving forward of Disneyland Forward.
But
I
see,
think honestly that the scope of how big they want this thing, I mean, it could be possible. I just think the cohesiveness that, I mean, I don't see Pandora being in DCA at all, but I think if there's one way that they can kind of get away with it is actually separating it from everything else.
well,
Yeah.
that's interesting because you're separating it, but then it's like, how do you justify that though, right? Like, how do you is it like going to be some California like space launch area that you go and you get into a ship and you go to Pandora? Or how are they going to justify that with the California theme? Will they even bother justifying it? What do you think?
Sorry, really quick. I just want to add, because if you kind of go through, and I know I keep on bringing this up, of Jim Scholl's kind of like idea, if you have that adventure side, you can kind of have also, because they were in talks with a Wakanda area as well. Now, Wakanda does have a presence, sort of kind of in that California culture. Wasn't there like some sort of like base that was set?
Yeah, there was a community outreach center. I think at the end of the first movie, it was Long Beach, I believe, something like that.
Okay, so that can kind of be like your startup, entrance way, and then it can kind of maybe transport you to Wakanda, and then off of Wakanda, you are then in another whole world where then it would transition you into Pandora.
Because I get that, but man, that sounds like so much work though. Just because like with that, right, the whole Long Beach thing, I don't even remember that. So how many like other normies are going to remember that? Like I didn't even make that connection until you guys brought it up. So I mean that just sounds like a lot of pulling straws to get the closest thing to have it be some part of California.
So basically, Mike, what you're saying is it doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah, basically.
That's why Disney's doing it.
But see, on the other hand, though, obviously Hollywood Studios has no IP whatsoever. It's a dead area walking, and the problem I have with it is, and everyone would agree with me, if Disney wants to bring this full-scale Avatar that they keep showing online everywhere, I even if they acquire that bus area behind Hollywood Studios, I don't think that area, those two areas combined, is even enough space.
See, that's where I'm with Conductor on that.
Yeah, because I feel like that if they're gonna put it there are things they're gonna scale back, cheap out, and Avatar is not one of those properties that you do that with. You just do not do that, especially as much money as it's made the Walt Disney Company. You don't do that, especially when you show concept
and with James
art.
Cameron on board. James Cameron's
Exactly.
not. If you take something of his original concept and you're going to say, well, we're going to cut some of the cost and we're going to kind of dilute it down to this, he's not going to be a happy camper.
Oh no, no.
No, and that's what I've been saying since the beginning. When they announced like a year and a half ago that Pandora was coming or Avatar was coming to Disneyland Resort, and it was Avatar Experience, and a lot of fans were like, "Oh, it's just going to be an exhibit, a walkthrough for Star Wars launch day." I'm like, "There's no way James Cameron is gonna greenlight that. He's gonna want to go big or not do it at all, And here we are, So you're right. I think that you're right, Conductor. That it would kind of the acreage you can probably scrap together a decent amount of space over there in Hollywoodland with the bus load unload area, but you would have to really scale back though, even with the area that you can pull together for something like that. If they really want to build what they're building in the concept art,
We'll see. So when I was with George, when he was here, when I went to go see him up and we walked to the bus load area, right? I was even thinking, I was like, okay, Hollywoodland and then that area. I'm like, it still doesn't seem big enough because I've looked at the overhead maps, and of course I've been there a lot and what have you, but actually being there talking about it, I'm like, there's no way something on this scale that can fit here, right? Like, I just don't think they can do that. I mean, they could probably put something else, but for what the scale of Pandora they want to be, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's why honestly. Oh, good. No, sorry, Mike.
That's what I was saying. That's why for me, let's say the other map we're looking at, the DCA extension. That's why I think possibly the symbol lot is where the Pandora is going to go.
Yeah, that's what I think, honestly. And For me, after, and I mentioned this so many times, especially after OG and I did a recording with 6 Miles Tall and got to actually basically, walk through Zootopia in Shanghai with him. That to me, not physically, but through his video, I would love to walk through Zootopia right now. But then honestly, that land looked phenomenal, especially at night. I can see a complete revamp of Hollywoodland into Zootopia.
Yeah.
That's where I think would fit so much better, and especially to OG's idea that you can kind of California-fied into it, so to speak, where I know it's not where, but you can kind of like do like a Los Angeles area. You kind of got that like metropolitan kind of feel to it, but just with animals. And of
Right.
course, and it saves the red car trolley, so to speak, which I know G would be like relieved at that.
It
So,
would.
sorry, I just want to say. So, while true, George, while true, right? You can fit that to the California theme. There's still the question though: is Disney going to keep the DCA name, California, in the name? Or are they going to just now make it an adventure park?
With Zootopia, they can get away with it.
Right.
Pandora, I don't know.
That's the big question.
But now, George, we have a friend, and we can't say who it is. A source, pretty up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this person was telling us they didn't have any plan to change the name because they felt it was too far along. Like it's been too long and it's too ingrained in the culture of it being California Adventure. That's what this person told us. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't change their mind or whatever, but that was interesting that they told us. And that was pretty
makes
recently.
me wonder if it's really going to be a third gate then. Could
be. It could be. Now, I brought this image up because I thought this was interesting. This is Tokyo Disney Sea. This is a map of Tokyo Disney Sea. So, it kind of looks like what Disneyland and DCA will look like if they expand into those lots, right? because that top part right here. Let me get to it. Hold on one sec, guys. The top part right here. Let me see right here. This whole area right here is the Fantasy Springs thing. Okay, so you can see it's very much an expansion, right? It's like tacked on.
Yeah.
So it doesn't.
Do we know the acreage of Fantasy Springs?
I don't, not offhand. We'll have to do another video on that. I'm not really sure. It looks sizable though when you look at it comparative to the rest of the park.
It does, yeah.
Completely offhand, Mike, but if you kind of look at it, doesn't it look like a very oddly shaped keyblade?
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, it does.
It does.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So this is interesting though, right? Because it's kind of like, it kind of shows you like, you can do these weird shaped parks, and I mean, Disney's not too concerned about it. Now, technically this is OLC, but we'll see. We'll see if this is the route they go. Now, speaking of Disney Sea, I wanted to bring this up as well, because we are probably going to get, let me just stop that. Okay. We are probably going to get one of these areas that Tokyo has. Cause like I said, Potrock was over there in Asia. But this is actually, I'm not going to do the audio just because I don't want to like deal with the copyright stuff. But this is some of the stuff. We could kind of talk about it while it plays. This is courtesy of Theme Park Insider. This is the Tangled Dark Ride. And so it's a boat ride. This is crazy. It's indoor and outdoor. Okay.
And they have an audio animatronic of Rapunzel at the top of the tower. I mean,
and it's gorgeous, right? Now, here's the thing. Now, George, we're talking pre-show, but let's talk a little bit about this right now. There is a clause in the Tokyo contract that we can't clone anything from Tokyo for 5 years, right? From the day it opens and 5 years after the day it opens, right?
Correct.
And you were saying that it was, and anyone in the comments correct us if we're wrong, but it's based on the ride system and the IP, right?
Together. Yes, together. Right. As long if Disney was to utilize the same ride system, but a different IP, they should be fine, or vice versa. Unless it was something, because I believe all the ride systems come from WDI. I don't think it has anything to do with OLC. I think if it did, then they would probably have a much more difficulty doing it. So I believe, because I had that conversation with Slimer, I think that's what he said. Don't quote me, and I'm not sure if I understood him correctly, but I think that's what he meant. That when you have the IP and the ride system and the same storyline, I'm assuming that's the after. It has to be 5 years after to the day that it opens. So Fantasy Springs and all these attractions open June 6th of this year. So that would mean they cannot start anything if they were to replicate anything until June 6th of 2029.
Jeez.
Now, this is interesting. Now, this is the Peter Pan attraction, the new Neverland attraction. Now, this attraction, if you guys remember, like 2 years ago at the D23 Expo, we got some concept art, some vague ass concept art for the Avengers King Thanos attraction. And it was a big boxy ride vehicle with what will look like a screen in front of them. I'm speculating, and I think a lot of people on Twitter have as well, that this ride system for Neverland is that Avengers e-ticket that now it could change because that Avengers ride was showcased at D23 when Chapek was still the CEO. But this might be what we're looking at here, might be that Avengers e-ticket. And it does track because what you were saying, if that contract is the ride system and the IP, Disney could technically use it at DCA because it's a different IP. It's Marvel, it's not Peter Pan. So I don't know. What do you think, Conductor? Would you be what are your thoughts on these ride systems and bringing them here to California? Down for it, not down for it? How do you feel about it?
I'm open-minded. My only concern is because I've gone to Universal a lot, and one thing that kind of just bugs me, obviously they don't have the space here in Hollywood, is screen-based. Now, there are some rides that share the screen and actual, like the Tangle ride, and even like Peter Pan, they have physical sets and then they have screens. And what I'm worried about the Avengers e-ticket is, one, if Disney does bring it before the Olympics do happen in 2028, is it going to be all screen-based? Or is it going to be like this, where it's physical sets and screen? But I'm not opposed to these ride systems at all. I just want to, as someone that loves the theme parks, loves trying to, lose myself in the theme parks and try to get away from reality. The last thing I want to do is wait in a 45-minute, an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour line to sit there and ride an attraction we've been all hoping for years to have it all screen based. That's what I'm worried about. But
I'm actually. Oh, so sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say I'm not opposed to the ride system, but I do want it to be a figure of both. I don't want it just to be all screen, because if I'm going to do that, I might as well just go to Universal Hollywood and ride Transformers. That's basically what I'm looking at. I don't want that.
And I'm going to piggyback off of Conductor's notions. I feel like with the hype and the anticipation that we've been waiting for with this Avengers e-ticket, especially what we were supposed to originally get, this particular ride system, as long as if they were to create a program within this ride system that it would cater more towards Marvel and the Avengers, I could see it. If it is solely based off of how it is right now of what we're watching, I think that would be a tremendous disappointment. Not saying that it should be something like over-the-top thrill, but I feel like this kind of ride system fits well with Peter Pan. And I feel like that you would need something just a little bit more...
I would say... So sorry, just I was just say I would think you need a bit more movement, kind of like Indiana Jones, maybe. How you have a bit more thrown around a little bit more, because this looks very. I love this. This looks really, really fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It fits Peter Pan.
Right. But for Marvel, like an Avengers type of story or ride, it can't be this tame.
No, and here's the thing, to kind of give you guys a little peace of mind, I think with this too. I don't think that would be too much of an issue, because they could probably program these vehicles to get jerkier and crazier, and you're going to have different visuals that are more intense if it's Avengers. If you look at for example, if you look at even like Tower of Terror and then Mission Breakout, right? So Tower of Terror was a thrill ride for sure, but Mission Breakout is a thrill ride times 10. Same ride system, same building, same everything, but it intensified quite a bit with Breakout. I would even use Small World and Pirates as an example. I mean, same boat ride system and everything, but two completely different vibes with those attractions. So I think you could, with this ride system, with the screens, the physical sets, the vehicle, you could probably program this into something more thrilling for Avengers if you wanted to, you know. But we'll see if that's what it is. We don't even know. It could have changed because Chapek left, and now Bob Iger's back in the seat. Did they even scrap that thing altogether?
In a way, I kind of hope they did, because I'm sorry, the King Thanos thing was. I'm sorry, I felt that it was a bit of a cop out. I think it was like something that I don't. Whoops, excuse me. Sorry, I lost the camera. Okay. Sorry. But I think it was just a little bit of a cop out that the storyline just didn't really make sense to me. And I feel like that even though Thanos was a great villain, I just feel like at this point he would seem a little bit irrelevant. And I know by creating a new alternate multiverse with a new kind of Thanos, but it's just like I don't. And I know theme park visitors, the normies aren't going to care, but it's just like for me, it kind of falls short compared to the anticipation of this attraction, because we've been waiting so long. It's been like greenlit, put on hold, greenlit again. And it's
well, see that's what we were talking about earlier with Avatar. That's why we were all saying it shouldn't go in the Hollywood Studios area and the bus load area, because you don't do that. If you want to bring something where how can I put it? Because when Avengers Campus opened here at DCA, a lot of people at first were hyped up, but my problem is, and I don't know about you three, but from what I saw, it lasted maybe a couple months, if that, and then the hype died, because it's like, okay, well, this is it. This is all we got. Some little web slinger game and a reskin of a ride that's already been there for, since DCA opened. It's like, I get it. It was replacing Bugs Land, which was not very big. But when you have the 2019 D23 saying, oh, we're going to get this huge Avengers e-ticket, and then you have Chapek come in and say, no, we're scaling that way back, and it might be like a Transformers ride. It's like, do you do a ride system like that where it's Bob Chapek's thing, or do you go out with a bang and do what the 2019 version is going to be, which I'm sure Iger had a huge part in? And, when Iger left in 2015, I believe, and Chapek took over, one of his last projects were Galaxy's Edge. So with Iger's contract, expiring in I think it's 2026, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Why not go out with the bang again and bring back the 2019 version of the Avengers e-ticket?
Well, and theme park conductor, to your point, dude, right? It's like that, at least with Disneyland, I feel like with Galaxy's Edge and Avengers Campus, we have had two lands that, in my opinion, were unfinished when they opened. So when Galaxy's Edge opened, ride still wasn't open when the land opened, and now with Avengers with Avengers Campus, you have a very not so good Spider-Man ride, unfortunately, and then you have another e-ticket ride that should be there and it's not. So it's like, why are they opening these lands like half-assed? Like make a complete land, make sure everything's working and everything's functioning and everything's there that you want there.
Yeah, and to my point, what I'm getting to as well, if they want to at least bring something, obviously we're all excited that Disneyland Forward got approved, but we're talking way past 2028 where, we're waiting for the Olympics to come. Why not, see if Disney can really push the throttle and see if we could get that Avengers e-ticket from 2019 built before then. I know it's a stretch because Disney, a lot of times, no offense, because Universal does it too, they kind of drag their feet a little bit when it comes to building stuff. But if they can really push the metal or the pedal to the metal and build the 2019 version of that Avengers e-ticket, I think that would be a great response to the Fast and Furious roller coaster that's getting built at Hollywood right now for Universal. And that
You're telling me. I thought I'd be collecting my Social Security check by the time Tron opened.
Oh, I know.
Right.
Don't even get me started on that one.
It's crazy. Now I brought this scene up here in particular because it's kind of well, I want to make a point about Tiana's Bayou Adventure since we're talking about the future of the resort, right?
Sure.
A lot of people are complaining, and Tiana's is a lightning rod for this stuff because it's a culture war thing now, and so you have all kinds of like emotions on all sides, right?
Woke.
Woke, right? Yeah, exactly. It's woke. It's this. You know, I'm honestly very optimistic about it, but there have been a lot of complaints about like, well, they're getting rid of all these animatronics and they're replacing it with far fewer. Now, way more advanced, but far fewer, right? That's the argument. Here's the thing, though. I've been saying a long time now in a lot of these videos, it's going to be Tiana's going to be more mixed media. Okay, it's not like Splash Mountain was very much a animatronic heavy attraction. Tiana's will have animatronics for sure, and probably a lot of them, but it's going to utilize other technology as well, right? A lot of projections, I believe, with the backgrounds and things like that. When we look at the Peter Pan attraction and we look at the crocodile.
Well, also, OG, real quick, just to say, also Peter Pan, this is also a 3D attraction too, correct?
It is, yes. So Tiana's won't be 3D, but you can have these kind of projections mixed in with the physical media like you're seeing here in Tiana's, and I think we will see that. Very similar to what we're seeing here. Now, again, it's not 3D, so it'll be a different effect. It'll be probably more like the Alice in Wonderland kind of redo that they did a few years ago. George, you down for this for Tiana's? Do you think they should add projections like this and backgrounds like this, or do you think it doesn't really work in that space?
I think if it's very subtle,
like you don't want something like this.
I wouldn't go to this grand. No, I would do something a little bit more smaller because I feel like with the history of what Splash Mountain was and what the moving forward of Tiana's is with all the newer updated audio animatronics, I think that would be more than enough to carry the attraction than screen based to that level. Now, if they want to use like a little piece of a screen here or there, maybe some projections, I'm fine with that. But I feel like that Tiana's can carry with, because I mean, after seeing those AAs, especially with Mama Odie, they look phenomenal.
Oh, go ahead, George.
No. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say I absolutely agree with you. My thing is, Tiana's has a big footprint to take over. And what I mean by that is Splash Mountain was adored by everybody. Some of the people I go to work with, their parents, their grandparents worked and helped build Splash Mountain. So there is a huge expectancy for Tiana's to be almost mind-blowing, because if it's not and it's cheaped out and there's budget cuts and whatnot, which we're all hoping that it does not happen, it's really gonna just put a nail into a coffin that I'm sure Disney does not want.
Yeah, it has to deliver, because you're right. It's Splash Mountain up until the very end when it closed was a very popular attraction. There's no denying that at all. So now you're coming in, you're kind of changing it up. You still got the drop and everything is the same with that, but the IP, the music, and all that stuff is really going to have to land. What do you think, Mr. Webba? Would you be down for this mixed media kind of thing for Tiana's, or do you think it's kind of eh?
So actually, I'm going to push back against George and Theme Park Conductor here. I think it depends on how it's executed. I'm down for mixed media. Here's the, whether it's a mixed media, all physical, or whatever, like if it's executed well and if it's the purpose for what the scene is, I'm all for it. If it's done bad, it's done bad, and it's gonna look like crap, and I'm not going to be happy either way. If it looks bad, mixed media or physical or whatever, I mean, like, that sucks, doesn't work, change it, right? But I'm a person that I would like to see the mixed media, because you're using the technology of the AAs that we have now, which are amazing, but also you have the new kind of projection mapping and stuff like that you can add like more kind of magical stuff into the attraction, I think. Now with Peter Pan, I think this is a bit different here, because you're like
really quick, Mike, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to say I do respect your opinion on it. You're wrong, but I respect it.
George, get out. But I think with Peter Pan's a bit different though, because you're flying and stuff. So I think they don't have that kind of like flying simulation going on throughout Neverland. And with Tiana's, you don't have that. So again, it has to fit what's happening in the story, the attraction, right? So I think for Peter Pan here, it's very appropriate, and I'm really cool with it. With Fantasy Springs as a whole, I'll tell you guys, I haven't been this excited about an expansion of a new land or expansion of Disney of any park for a long time. This is amazing. I love the fairy tale stories. Like that's what brought me to love Disney in the first place, was the fairy tales. And then now we have all these fairy tale stories into Fantasy Springs. The rock work, like just the nature stuff, the rock work, the trees, like the
cohesiveness with the new hotel even.
Yeah, dude,
Oh,
it looks so amazing. And then the music too that you hear in the background. Oh, dude, it's so good, man.
It's killer. It's absolutely killer. Now, this is the thing too, and I made a tweet today on Twitter about this. I've heard from a lot of people, like recently, for the past year or so, maybe even a little bit longer, to be honest with you, that Imagineering, when they kicked out a lot of the veterans, right? Imagineering lost its way. Right. And they don't have the experience or the creativity to create the stuff that the Imagineers of old do. I have to push back on that. Now, that doesn't mean I don't love Joe Rohde. Doesn't mean I don't love the old guard. I absolutely do. And I think it's good that Rohde's coming back and working with the Imagineers. It's gravy, in my opinion. It's just extra awesomeness, right? But to say that the current crop of Imagineers is like these Keystone Cops, they don't know how to do anything. They don't have that institutional memory. It just flat out false. We're seeing it right now with Arendelle, Zootopia, Fantasy Springs. This is all from the new class, of Imagineers. They clearly know how to create a quality product.
You just have to cut them the right check.
You got to write them the right check and pull back, I think, and let them do their creative thing. And that's the problem. I think Burbank is meddling, and they're probably cheapening out as well. OLC doesn't do that. So that's why you're seeing it. But the Imagineers themselves, in terms of creativity, in terms of institutional memory, it's absolutely there, and this is proof in the pudding. Go ahead, George.
Now I want to touch upon a few other things. First thing is with Tokyo Disneyland, do they have a version of Peter Pan's Flight?
I believe they do, yes. I could be wrong. I believe they do, yes.
Okay, so they have a Peter Pan's Flight plus this Neverland in Tokyo Disney Sea. Okay, so that pretty much wouldn't be, so far-fetched that if Disney really wanted to utilize like a Neverland-themed area, like in a different part of the park or in a different section, they could very well do that in the domestic parks.
Well, here's the thing though. That's a little, because the Peter Pan's Flight attraction is in Tokyo Disneyland, right? And the Fantasy Springs is in Disney.
Oh, that's true, because it wouldn't. Yeah, it really wouldn't fit well in the DCA.
It's two. Yeah, they're in two different parks.
Although so I will say, I'm probably going to get heat for this, but I'm just going to say, if someone asked me, what would you prefer? I kind of would say, give me the Fantasy Springs Peter Pan and Axe Peter Pan's Flight, to be honest with you. I enjoy that ride. It's a beloved attraction. It's very popular, but especially with Disneyland's, I mean, it's a bit rough, especially when coming into the exit. It needs like some oil tune-up around like those the top things, and the dark lighting is kind of offsetting for me. You could tell it's very kind of outdated. Again, it's original, it's classic, but again, as you always say, OG, Walt didn't build a museum.
Right. Well, and this is the thing too. Peter Pan is a massive, it's an incredible, fantastic adventure, that film. And I think that the ride, while good, is it feels too small for the franchise, if that makes sense. Right?
Peter Pan Flight or this new one?
Peter Pan's Flight. It feels too small for the IP. It's a grand adventure. It's almost like the definition of fantasy, that story, Peter Pan, right?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So you need a big experience for Peter Pan. And the Peter Pan's Flight feels tiny for that franchise. That's what I've been saying a lot with The Lion King. You can't build a little dark ride for The Lion King. That franchise is way too big and vast for that. You need an Indiana Jones adventure style ride for the Lion King. So same goes for Peter Pan. So I would be completely on board with you, George. Get rid of Peter Pan's Flight and replace it with this bigger version. It's much more appropriate for this franchise, you know?
We'll see also too with Peter Pan's Neverland at Tokyo for Fantasy Springs. Not only do they have the attraction, but they have Tinkerbell's, what is it, Bugs, the little Bugs ride thing or whatever.
Right.
The
The
buggy,
buggy.
the buggy thing, yeah.
Yeah, they have that, and then also you can also go walk around on Hook's pirate ship too. So it's again like they have like Neverland built out for guests to walk and experience on. So you have two attractions plus you can walk and explore all of this. So it's like, and then we have like this itty bitty little ride, right? That's like a minute long or so. So it's like 45 minutes. You gotta wait for it, but
Okay, if we're gonna stay on brand here with Disney, Eva, we got to do it right. It's Fantasy Springs is phenomenal cosmic power, and we have itty bitty little space.
yes, exactly.
Right. Exactly. What are your thoughts on that, Conductor? Overall thoughts?
You know what? I don't disagree. After writing, Peter Pan's Flight and then seeing the new one, I agree with George. Replace it, bring in the new. Like George said, we cannot. Obviously, we want to keep Walt's original park as much original as possible, but you can't keep it a museum forever.
You don't want to
especially when you have two different rides that are based off the same IP, and you've had the same ride at the same park since forever. I'm going to say forever. And you have a newer version that might bring in the younger crowd, but also might keep the original crowd happy. Why not? That's what I say. Well, why not?
Yeah, no, exactly, Conductor. And a lot of fans get mentally married to the old school stuff. And I understand that. And with Disney, there is a balancing act. You don't want to go too crazy with replacing. Yeah. But in this case, I think it's appropriate. You have a massive fantasy epic, Peter Pan. And I don't think that the current attraction, Peter Pan's Flight, fits the scope of what that film is. Now, for an Alice in Wonderland, I think that's fine. The tinier dark ride fits that franchise just fine, but for Peter Pan, like one of the biggest fantasy adventure stories of all time, and you're going to put you in that little dark ride in the little ship, doesn't feel right. Go ahead, Eva.
So I actually just thought of something.
What's that?
So what if for Disneyland Forward, like let's say instead if we got like Peter Pan, like that attraction at Tokyo, right? What if we got a version of that, like kind of it's like I guess that's what the Avengers e-ticket is going to be. But what if we got a land off of Aladdin, and that was your magic carpet?
That'd be dope, dude. That would be dope.
I'm glad you actually brought that up, Mike, because you and I had talked about this many times before, and this is very frustrating to me, where Disney has a phenomenal library of IP, and some of the greatest in their catalog came from the Renaissance animation era. You have Beauty and the Beast, you have Aladdin, you have The Lion King, big box office blockbusters, still very beloved to this very day. Beautiful, crisp animation, characters, music, what have you. I don't understand why it is taking so long for Disney to utilize those IPs. Yeah, they used the Beauty and the Beast in Tokyo. The ride is phenomenal. I can't wait to ride the thing. But we don't got nothing of Beauty and the Beast out here. You can do what you said with Aladdin with the magic carpet. I've been, craving like an escape out of the Cave of Wonders where you're riding the carpet kind of thing.
Right.
What do we get? No, we get a freaking spinner where you get a golden camel that spits on you. It's like, yeah. And then the Lion King, we got nothing at all. I mean, minus like a few shows and some parade floats, but it's like, I don't understand where Disney's headset is on the Renaissance IPs, because I would be utilizing them like crazy.
Right.
Well, George, to your point though, on the Lion King, like you're talking about with the shows, the parades and stuff like that, what if that's Disney testing the waters to see if it's even worth investing in that to build a ride that might be like a Avengers E-ticket, where it might be massive. I'm not saying it wouldn't be successful. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, though, with Disney, for example, like OG mentioned way early in the video about Tron. It took so long to build. The hype was there for a little bit. Now people are complaining that they have to literally like lay down on the thing to ride it, and it's just uncomfortable. So what if, like I was saying, what if they were testing the waters for Lion King? What if they have plans to bring it as an attraction, but they're trying to fill people out?
That's fair.
I do agree with you. Definitely, Disney is very notorious for testing the waters with different things, especially like we have seen, kind of even just like with little novelty things. Like they have the big owl statue over at Grizzly Peak. Could that be a little Easter egg of signs of things to come, where the country bears are going to have a bigger prominent stay at Grizzly Peak? So I definitely agree with you on that. The only thing that, as far as with the Lion King goes, if they're testing the waters, the Festival of the Lion King show has been out at Walt Disney at Animal Kingdom for I can't even remember, like even when it came online, but it had to be over 10, 15 years. So
Yeah.
if they're testing the waters, I mean, they're waiting for a drought, because
Yeah, it's been a long time.
They really need to push it. And I think honestly, The Lion King is such a beloved film. I think honestly it did, when the movie first came out, it was a success in its own right. And then when they re-released it into theaters, it even hit #1 at the box office, where they used Disney Digital 3D at the time. So but as I said, I do agree with you as far as testing the waters. As far as The Lion King goes, I don't know why that they're waiting so long with that. And again, also with Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. But I also want to ask, Mike, I'm not sure. I know I talked to OG about this, and I also talked to Slimer about this. I can't remember if I talked to you about it, Mike, and Conductor. I want your opinion as well. Because speaking of the Lion King, if they were to do an attraction, a friend of the channel, Jack from DSMY Newscast, did a video about it, that that there could potentially be an attraction where it may be kind of like a water-based attraction based on the Lion King. And I wanted to get your opinions on it, because if that would be the case, because I'm already kind of seeing this Disney going down this route, because when you look at Frozen, the attraction, you look at Tangled, you could possibly be looking at the Lion King, you're looking at Pandora, and all I'm kind of really seeing is these boat attractions.
Right.
Is Disney going down a path where they're just constantly saying, okay, well, let's just take a boat attraction because it's more equitable to build, and we'll just throw the IP in it? I mean, again, now it would work with Pandora, obviously, if you're doing the Way of Water. Obviously, if you're going to do like the lanterns, you're going to be in a gondola with Tangled and what have you. But it just for me, it just seems like if they keep going down that road with a boat system, it's like a little bit of a cop-out to me as far as on Disney's part of choosing a correct ride system with the IP, because I'm with OG on that. If they were to do something with the Lion King, it has to be more land-based than anything, and kind of do like a Jeep-style safari kind of
thing. Yeah, like right, Lion King, I don't think boat ride. That's a weird fit. I agree with you, George. Like if you're gonna do Lion King, it has to be land based. Pandora, because they're probably gonna go Way of Water. That makes sense. I get that. That makes sense. For me, it just depends on the IP. I don't care if you do a boat ride 1,000 times, as long as that 1,000 times it fits the IP that you're attaching it to. What do you think, Conductor?
I completely agree with George. I think the ride system, if they were going to bring the Lion King, since the Lion King we all know is kind of like a safari type, Africa type thing. I agree. It should be like an Indiana Jones ride to a point. It should have a Jeep type vehicle. It makes sense. The only thing I could say about, an Africa type thing, it could be a water base, but I agree with George. I rather have it like an actual Jeep vehicle type ride system more than it would be a water ride.
Yeah, well said. Well said. What do you think, Mr. Webba?
So I agree with you guys, and I agree with OG that I don't care what the ride system is. It has to fit the IP. Okay, so I don't want a boat ride for Lion King. It doesn't make any sense, right?
No.
It's like saying, "Oh, guys, let's make a boat ride for Indiana Jones." Like,
Yeah, that's
what?
weird.
Like no, it's gonna, it's like it's just like that, right? And so I do hope like that some of these boat rides though, like not all of them are just slow kind of go through, which is fine. But I like a little bit of thrill in there, right? Maybe maybe like a little drop or two, kind of like Pirates, right, or something.
I
like
want to
that.
see an Emperor's New Groove attraction where they completely wrap us around a tree stump and like push us off a waterfall.
There you go.
That's
That
awesome.
works. That works.
That's awesome.
Now, gentlemen, I want to ask you too. So Disneyland Forward got approved June 7th. They can actually start doing stuff. Okay, so we're moving now, right? Now, because it got the approval, and I'll start with you, George, and I'll go down the row. Because it got the approval, do you think this opens up the floodgates now for D23?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like D23 could have eventually been something completely different, but I think now that obviously they have enough more that they basically probably had 2 PowerPoint presentations ready sitting in the wings. A greenlit Disneyland Forward and a non-greenlit Disneyland Forward, and they just picked the one that they obviously after yesterday they can pick the Group A PowerPoint presentation that I think that it's going to be a much bigger, grander D23.
As opposed to last D23, where they did have 2 PowerPoint presentations, but it was Blue Sky or Bluer Sky, right?
Bluer Sky.
and Bluest Sky. They had actually 3. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My apologies. What do you think, Conductor, in terms of D23? You think this changes the game, or?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The way I look at it is I might even take off the day of work just to make sure I'm watching D23 because I'm super excited. So I'm actually
and you have to because we're doing a live stream watch party.
I'm going to be watching you guys. I'm going to be watching. But no, I'm super excited for it. I like I said before on the pre-show before we started this video, I was scared that if Disneyland Forward did not get approved, the only options that they had to even bring any excitement to the Disneyland Resort, not Walt Disney World, the Disneyland Resort, was to go forward with the Tomorrowland retheme and possibly the Avengers e-ticket. That was their plan B. Now, like I rewatched probably about a week ago, I rewatched Bricky's video when he was coming out of the last D23 we had here in Anaheim, and I could just see the utter disappointment in his face. And I respect Bricky 100%. The guy just has a phenomenal background of just imagination, in my opinion. He could put things into focus. You almost want to say he's like a younger future Walt in a way, because he just kind of envisions everything. So I'm thrilled that the Disney panel will have something, if not a huge announcement for the Disneyland Resort. But again, I still feel that they could botch it if they don't word it and they just start with the blue sky concept again.
Yeah.
Just because
you can't do that.
just because we got Disneyland Forward approved does not mean they won't come on D23 and say, oh yeah, we could do this, we could do this, we could do. It's like, no.
And they could do that, but where fans are going to snap back is Ken Potrock, as Mike said earlier.
Yep.
He said, we know exactly what we want, and where we're going to put it. So don't throw me that BS tomorrow that it's like, okay, well, what's this? What if we could put it here, we could put. No, you already know where it's going to go, what it's going to be.
Right.
Throw it out there to us.
Well, and Daddy Josh is in contention for the CEO position. He's on the short list. This is no secret.
Yeah.
It's all over the trades. It's all over the news, right? He's on that short list. He cannot afford to have a fan mess at D23.
No.
You go on that stage and you give us blue sky, bluer sky, and bluest sky. The fans are going to be so ticked off, and that's gonna completely decimate his chances, I think, of any kind of CEO. Assuming they don't announce it by then, I don't think they will now. I think he needs to really knock out and hit a home run. I think he knows that because he wants that CEO spot, so he's got to come through.
And I agree with you, OG. He has the perfect platform to do so. Now, again, like I said, I don't like to be negative. I don't like to be pessimistic, but he could still mess it up. And I hope and pray and call Hail Marys all over the place that he doesn't. Because like George is saying, like you say, OG, if he does that, he might as well just say to Bob Iger, I don't want the CEO position because no one's going to listen to me. No one's going to like me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you, Conductor, that day, I tell you, I was born and raised Catholic. I'm going to have my Bible, my rosary, my holy oil. It's all going to be like set out right next there. And I'm like going to be like, I'll go like full on exorcist on this thing.
Oh, God.
You're going to have you're going to have like the candles like all around in a circle. And what do you think, Eva? Are you doing the prayer circle too, or what?
For George, yeah. I'll be at George's house, like in a hood, like I have like a cloak and a hood on, just like praying for George.
You'll be coming in like a friar talk.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Totally.
What do you think, Webba? You think tomorrow's gonna hit a home run here, or is he gonna give us more blue sky?
I don't think we'll get blue sky. I think we'll get like a little bit blue sky for a few things, whether that's domestic or international. But in my opinion, this D23 is going to be a big focus on the domestic parks, Disneyland Resort and Walt Disney World, because now that whole crap fest and Florida's done, so now they can get back to all their blue sky crap over there and actually put some concrete stuff. And then now Disneyland Forward has now passed, so now we can actually get some stuff going on here. And I think, because seriously, I'm even thinking too, like leading up to it, if they'll start like trickling out little bits of stuff, not anything big, but like just little things, maybe that
I think they might, especially with Pandora. I think. Even before D23, they may not give like specifics of like what is it actually going to be, but I think they may make the announcement of like exactly like where it's going, unless it's going into a third gate. Because if it's going to go into a third gate, they will definitely save that for D23.
Oh yeah, because that's going to be a huge announcement, huge. So yeah, I think this is going to be a huge year for us fans, us West Coast fans, us Disney domestic park fans. This is going to be big. This is going to be really huge. I'm really excited. And George, here's the thing, right? Since they freaking got this approved now, how about freaking D23 open up more tickets for their freaking Honda Center?
Don't even get me started on that, bro, because you know exactly what happened with it. Oh my gosh, that was like a nightmare and a half.
Now, Conductor, I think you mentioned Tomorrowland. I want to dip into this a little bit, right?
Sure.
Before we do, really quick.
Sure.
George, no.
Was there any? Because I know that they had video footage. Did you show any of the video footage of Frozen?
I didn't. I couldn't find the footage in time for that. Yeah.
I did actually see a little bit of it. I forget who actually posted it. That looked phenomenal. But really quick. The other thing is too, on top of what the domestic parts that you were saying, Mike. Also, I have like high hopes even for the Disney Cruise Line, because even to this past quarterly earnings, they said that the cruise line is actually booming in revenue, and that 20% of that the $60 billion is going to go put towards expanding the cruise line. So they're already building 3 more ships. That's going to have 8 total. So I have a feeling there's going to be as I think after the 8, as infamous Iger, they're not going to have another one, but they're going to have another 2. So
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to throw that
Well,
out there. So,
also too, George. I think not even just Disney, but just in general. I feel like cruising is gaining a lot of traction and popularity now.
it is. Yeah, it is.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm a newbie to this whole cruise scene. You know what I'm saying? I've only been on 2 in classic Bob Iger style. I've been on 2, the Wonder and the Wish, and I loved both experiences. The customer service on these cruise lines are incredible. The cast members are absolutely insanely good. It's just an amazing experience. I love being that close to nature. I know I sound like a hippie, but I do. I like being out there.
Go hug some trees, OG.
You know what I'm saying? That's why I like Animal Kingdom, because I can sit on a bench and drink a beer and look at the trees. That's what I like to do. I don't give a shit about the rides. I just like the nature part of it all. But yeah, I love sitting on the deck and just watching the water and the sea life. It's amazing to me. I absolutely fall in love with that stuff. But yeah, the cruising is incredible, absolutely incredible.
So as you were saying, OG, sorry.
Oh yeah, no worries. No, Tomorrowland. I want to dip on this a little bit. I'm gonna start with you, Conductor, because I haven't had you on in a while.
Sure.
Tomorrowland's a weird animal right now, right? Because it feels like I feel personally it's so back burner, because everything that we're hearing is more Disneyland forward kind of stuff, like Pandora and things like that. What do you think the future of what do you think Tomorrowland? Where are we at right now with this? Because we did get confirmation that Autopia is going electric, right? A lot of fans are saying, well, that's a sign they got bigger plans for Tomorrowland. I respectfully disagree with that. I think that shows that they have a Band-Aid that they're going to put over it. That's the bare minimum, in my opinion, for Tomorrowland. I don't think that's indicative of any major plan for that land. I think it's actually quite the opposite. Because if they had a major plan for Tomorrowland, I don't think Autopia would even be in the picture, in my opinion. But your thoughts, though, Conductor. What do you think? Where are we with Tomorrowland? We got these new Autopia cars coming.
Sure.
A lot of Disneyland forward focus. Is it really? Are we going to have to wait another decade for this thing, or?
Sadly to say, I see it. I can see it happening. Like you said, making the cars electric on Autopia is a Band-Aid. Some of the other rumors I heard was that they would close Tomorrowland for a little while, get rid of the old people mover station, old station, the whole, barricade, as I call it, that's really dividing Tomorrowland, which makes it a cluster F, in my opinion. And they're talking about making the people mover station inside the old Carousel Progress building, which is Star Wars Launch Bay, which, if they're going to do that, then that's another Band-Aid. It's like, if you really wanted to new Tomorrowland, get rid of Star Tours, move that somehow into Galaxy's Edge, first of all. Second of all, get rid of Astro Blasters, Toy Story. That doesn't even belong there. Get rid of the old People Land mover station. If you're not going to do anything with it, get rid of it. And get rid of the Carousel Progress building. That right there, if you got rid of all that, and then you kept Space Mountain original to Walt's vision like it was there, hey, I'm all for it. But when you're talking about making Autopia electric, you're talking about possible rumors of moving the People Mover station if Disney decides to bring that even back at all, because that was rumored the last D23 and that was a flop. And moving it into the old, Star Wars Launch Bay, is that really fixing Tomorrowland? No.
Yeah, they got to do. I agree with you, Conductor. They got to do they got to make some major moves over there in Tomorrowland. It's a huge problem. Like I said, like you said, Star Tours. I feel like my OCD kicks in big time with that. Like, you have 15 acres Star Wars land, and then you got the Star Wars right over here in Tomorrowland. It's just super disconnected to me. Move it if you have to. I think it's a cool ride. Move it over there. But,
absolutely.
Right? And then you have Buzz Lightyear, which now Tokyo is getting a Wreck-It Ralph version, but we can't do that, right, George? Because it's an IP in the ride system. We got to wait 5 years for that. Which probably won't be a problem, actually, 5 years, because I don't think Tomorrowland's getting touched in 5 years anyway. But we'll see. We'll see. What do you think, Mr. Spider-Man, Mr. Webba?
Well, here's nothing too that you guys haven't mentioned yet. That I also want to touch on too with Tomorrowland is the freaking the Captain EO theater, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's like that. What are we doing with that, guys? Like, come on, we keep like we're putting some Star Wars crap in there. It's like, can we get like an awesome banger, like cool 3D show in there, like that's
Sure.
permanent? Like, why do we keep having like this? Like, and they don't know what to do. Like, I have like no words to describe of how like I want to say this because it's so ridiculous. Wow, we haven't gotten a permanent, awesome 3D show in there yet. It's just crazy,
Mhm.
and it's just a wasted space. So yeah, get rid of Star Tours, get rid of Buzz Lightyear. I mean, here's the personally, guys, I don't like the Astro Blast. Or, I mean, the what is it called?
Astral
The
Orbiter.
Astro Orbiter. Yeah, get rid of that thing. I
Yeah.
don't like that anyway.
Yeah.
People will either bring it back or take out the tracks, do something. And then get rid of that awful launch bay. Like, why do we have that there? Like,
Right.
it's annoying. Get rid of it.
I basically honestly say, as Conductor said, move Star Tours, keep Space Mountain, keep the Lagoon for the
And get
subs,
and
but
get
take
rid
the
of
subs.
everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically. And then, of course, you keep Matterhorn there because Matterhorn kind of sits in the middle of Tomorrowland and Fantasyland. Everything else, bulldoze the hell out of it. Flatten it out. Create a whole nother Tomorrowland aesthetically, what have you. As far as with Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, correct me if I'm wrong, OG. I'm not sure if it was Tokyo that was getting it though. Wasn't it Shanghai?
No,
That
it was
Was
Tokyo.
it Tokyo?
No, it's just Tokyo. Because remember, Tokyo, they're doing what you said, George. They're redoing their whole entire Tomorrowland, and they're getting
Yeah.
that space
Oh,
mountain.
That's right. Yeah,
Right.
that's right. Because it's going in with the newer. Yeah, so we would have to wait on that anyway, as OG, as you said.
But
yeah,
I mean, and even to be fair though, even Wreck-It Ralph is a little bit of a stretch in Tomorrowland because Wreck-It Ralph is really based on vintage video games. I mean, I know they sprinkle in some new stuff,
and
but
I think it would probably fit well in Tokyo, probably based off of what their new Tomorrowland is going to look like aesthetically. So it'll probably fit. Yeah, so for me, I'm just kind of a little bit like over Tomorrowland, to be honest with you. As far as like, if you can't really do nothing with it, it's like why
have
again?
it?
I do love Space Mountain. I do. I really do. But honestly, even if they retheme Space Mountain to something completely different, still keep the ride layout, keep the roller coaster, I'm okay with that.
So what-
I actually love it as Hyperspace Mountain, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I feel
me
like
too.
that there's more Star Wars over in Tomorrowland than there is in Galaxy's Edge.
No, I know.
Exactly. And sorry, OG, to go off kind of topic here, but that's my problem with it. It's like that. Why do we have the Season of the Force thing when we have a whole land for Star Wars? That should be Season of the Force 365 days of the year, dude.
All right.
Like, it doesn't make
Exactly.
any sense.
Yep. And so what Ebba is saying is that you should replace Tomorrowland with Toy Story Land, right, Webba?
There you go. There you go.
I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you. It's coming.
Go a little further. Build Zootopia in there. Hell,
There you go.
why not?
Oh, why not, right?
Why not?
I'm telling you, it's coming. You guys better brace yourselves for it. Have you ever seen the teaser trailer for Toy Story 2 where the little green alien looks into the camera and goes, "It's coming. It is coming."
Yeah.
It's coming. Well, what they'll do is they'll put it in the DCA, but it'll be Woody riding a banshee. You know what I'm saying? That cross
Probably. I guarantee it. I
my
guarantee
God.
it.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah.
Well, overall thoughts, Conductor. Tomorrowland, could it stay? Could it go? Or where you stand with it?
I think it could stay. I think honestly, with the whole Disneyland Forward, like I said earlier in the video, Disney made a huge hurdle by getting it approved. We're all happy about it. There's no negative unless you're one of the residents that live so-called across the street from Disney.
Right.
But
That apparently that they're bulldozing their houses just to do this.
I mean, those poor people. I mean, they had no idea they were moving next door to Disneyland, and they had no idea fireworks were a thing or anything like that.
No, absolutely. But I think personally, Disneyland Forward, we're going to see it, evolve, expand 10, 15, 20 years down the road from this point forward. And I think if Disney wants to win like I said, for the Olympics, because every theme park, I don't care what it is in California right now, whether it's Disneyland, or it's Universal, Knott's, Six Flags, whatever, they are looking at what they can bring the crowds for the Olympics. Because you're not going to just have people to the United States gathering in SoCal. You're talking people from all over the world. So you want these theme parks want to bring something new, something exciting, something that draws people. Because if you're not going to do that, then it's like, how can you charge all this money, like George was saying earlier, trying to bring what lands from either Tokyo or Japan or whatever over to the domestic parks, especially the Disneyland Resort, and charge all this money for hotel stays, like the Grand California, for example. I think it's like last time I checked, it was like $600-700 a night. How can you charge that if you're not going to bring something that's going to entice people to do that? So my whole thing is, Disney at D23, they really need to look at, do they want to do something with Tomorrowland? Yes or no? Are they going to bring the Avengers E-ticket? And if they are, they need to make it amazing, if not the 2019 version. And 3, if they are going to bring something from Disneyland forward before the Olympics, what is it going to be? That's the 3 questions they need to look at.
Well, actually, and theme park conductor, my question is, you brought it up with the hotel price, right? Is
Sure.
If they're charging that now, how much are they going to charge once Disneyland Forward is finally said and done? Right?
Oh, they're going to charge double. There's no.
Well, and especially, and keep this in mind, the Grand Cali is one thing. The Grand Cali is one thing. But when you are literally in Pixar Place Hotel or the Disneyland Hotel, and you have theme park literally wrapped around these hotels now,
Yeah,
absolutely.
The cachet, the hotel, these hotels now can charge double, maybe even triple what they are now, because now you're literally in the park.
yeah.
I have to say, for my Disney addiction, literally, and especially with the price that it's going to be now, I mean, I'm already down to 1 kidney, half a liver, 2/3 of a spleen, and 7 toes. Like, I don't know what else I got left.
and 1 ball, right?
Yeah.
Hey, George, are you sure you're not the $6 million man they made a movie about? Because that's what it's starting to sound like.
Exactly.
FYI.
Well, so, conductor, I also want to ask you too, because I've asked these 2 gentlemen about it, but I want to ask you though. So with Disneyland Forward, right? Because my biggest complaint with the Disneyland Resort right now is the lack of restaurants.
Sure.
I want to see, like, Walt Disney World. I know it's bigger; they have more. I get it, but I want to see a lot more restaurants under the Disney banner or name or what have you, right? Like steakhouses or like Chinese food or whatever, right? Seafood places, stuff like that. What do you think about them, adding, like, let's say a Disney Springs type of place where they have more restaurants and retail?
I think that's a brilliant idea. To be honest, I think if they're going to do stuff like that, Disney can really, really take advantage of bringing restaurants for sure. Shops, I'm sure they can figure it out, but restaurants for sure that are, creative and run and owned by Disney. Something, not bringing, like, don't get me wrong, but not bringing some like Panda Express or something like that, or like they had. I think it was at the Disneyland Hotel, if I'm not mistaken. They had the Steakhouse 55, which I know OG 55. You brought that up numerous of times in your video. They need restaurants like that.
Yes, yeah. I love that steakhouse. Oh my god, that was so good.
No.
If Disney ends up partnering or buying Carl's Jr., for me, it's all over.
There you go. It's over. It's over. No, they need restaurants. And look, this is a controversial take because the fandom is really split on this. But I'm okay with alcohol in these parks. George knows. I'll have like 2 or 3 beers like before lunch. Pretty much.
More than the merrier, right?
What I'm saying? It's all good. You're at Disney. Why not? No, but
really quick. Being that he said that, I just have a really quick story to tell because this was like so funny. That we were at DCA, and we had lunch at Pim's Kitchen at Avengers Campus. And of course, OG always loves to have his beer with his lunch.
Yeah.
You know, who doesn't? You know, so it's good. Literally, it was like 15 minutes. We went from Avengers Campus into Cars Land. We get in line. It really wasn't that long of a wait. It was like maybe 45 minutes for Radiator Springs Racers. And we thought, why not? You know, it's like we waited an hour and 40 minutes for the tram at Universal.
Oh,
so
God.
we might as well wait like 40 minutes for
Sure.
Radiator Springs Racers. We're almost about more than halfway when the cast member comes on the intercom. We really couldn't tell what she was saying, but it sounded like she said the ride temporarily is down.
Oh,
and all I remember was OG just like paused for like 3 seconds. He was like, God, I could use a beer.
Exactly. No, exactly. But that's the thing. Like, I'm cool with alcohol in the parks, right? I'm totally fine with that. I think Disney handles it very well. I think for the most part, you're always going to have somebody that acts like a jerk or a ball bag at the parks after they drink. But for the most part, it seems to be handled pretty well, right? I would like to see more themed bars. I want to see more like the Trader Sam's kind of thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I think it's fun, you know.
And I think the cruise line is kind of taking that pathway of like incorporating like the Haunted Mansion themed bar and lounge, the Jungle Cruise kind of bar and lounge. And I wish that the theme parks would kind of actually like utilize that, you know, as how the cruise line is.
Right, it's weird. So, sorry, just cut you out. It's weird. I feel like that the theme parks right now are kind of like taking inspiration for like more real life restaurants or bars. Whereas
and the cruise line's taking it from the parks.
the parks, yeah, it's very interesting. It's like what?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Conductor, I wanted to ask you, being that we were talking about restaurants and like a Disney Springs type thing, do you see it being more realistic to put the West Coast Disney Springs into the Toy Story parking lot as opposed to the potential third gate? Do you think, with as far as the maneuvering of the guest flow, do you think it would be more realistic? And also, eventually, do you see Disney purchasing Garden Walk, taking out the original Downtown Disney, keeping the original Downtown Disney, even part of the 40-year project? Could you see them potentially maybe trying to kind of get some ownership off of Harbor and Catella, sort of how they did with Magic Way? What's like all that in a nice little package with a bow? What's all your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's more than possible. If they're going to bring something like that, you know, I personally would keep Downtown Disney. I would keep evolving it as they're doing. If they are really serious about buying Garden Walk, I would probably make that the eatery / dining district that they're thinking about bringing, and leaving the Toy Story lot to theme park space. That's what I honestly think, because
I agree with you. Everything
because if you look at Garden Walk, basically, if you really want to think about it, it's already set up for shopping and dining. Disney just has to put their twist on it, really. So they already have the structures there. They just have to put their own, you know, their own flavor on it, as I call it, or their own magic on it, and leave Toy Story to theme park space. Because again, you know, with everything that's going on, like I said at the beginning of the video, the Disneyland Resort has had the spotlight turned off on it, and it's time it gets turned back on. And I'm not just talking about restaurants and shops, and I'm talking about actual attractions, lands. Because I feel like even before 2019, Walt Disney World, yes, it's a lot bigger. We can all agree to that. Has had the spotlight on it for quite some time. And, you know, if you're going to sit there and you're going to call the Disneyland Resort Walt's original park, don't you think it's about time it gets a little, you know, magic its way?
Yeah.
Well
said. Well,
and that's why they purchased Magic Way.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's a start right there. That's the start right there.
Well, and here,
sorry, OG, really quick. And speaking of that Magic Way, Conductor, what are your thoughts potentially of Disney maybe getting some ownership of Harbor and Catella?
So Catella and Harbor, I think it's more than possible because Disney has gone this far. Why not go a little bit farther? It seems like the city council has no problem approving things for Disney at this point, corrupt or not, and
especially the money that Disney's giving back to the city. So I think once the city starts seeing Disney's contribution to that and holding to their word, they're
going to loosen their grip, a little bit. But my only concern is as they allow Disney to do that, at some point, if they loosen the reins too much, are we going to go back to the same situation where we had with the last administration of Anaheim, where the FBI got brought in? Now there's all these special investigations, all this crap, all this drama, and because residents at this point, as of last night and literally all 3 voting meetings that I've literally watched, residents are pissed. They're not happy. People that are going to the theme park are racing through their neighborhoods, damaging property. And the fact that, Anaheim, especially the city council, approved Disneyland Forward, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. But if they, like I said, if they loosen the reins too much, then that's just going to create another, drama situation.
It's about pacing, the give or take.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Sorry, as you were saying, bro.
No, well, I was going to say a couple of things, actually. In terms of the Toy Story lot, there's very little chance. I know a lot of people in the fan community think it's going to be a big, giant Disney Springs. I got to disagree with that. Disney's never going to find 75 acres in that kind of space.
No.
In Anaheim ever again. And you're going to blow that on shopping and dining. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. Now, you can say a hotel, but you can add a hotel and a theme park, and then now you're cooking with some major gas, right? So Absolutely. I think it's going to be a theme park. 75 acres is more than enough. It's a DCA style size park. That's going to happen. I think, in my opinion. I mean, they'd be stupid not to at this point. In terms of the streets, though, I don't think Disney will ever own Catella and Harbor. I think those are too busy of streets. I think that there's maybe down the road, no pun intended, down the road, right?
Yeah,
maybe down the road, Disneyland Drive, as you can see it here on the map. I think they might get that because that's lesser trafficked. It's mostly Disney traffic anyway. But Catella and Harbor, I just respect. I just
now
can't see
the only reason why I brought that up because I was having that conversation with Mike last night because he brought up a great point that when they do. Eventually, because I think you're both right. I believe the Toy Story parking lot is going to become the third gate. I mean, to have almost 75 acres that Disney will never, as far as Disneyland goes, they'll never get that big plot of land ever again that they already own. But Mike brought up a point to me that I couldn't really even answer last night because I had to really think about it, and maybe either one of you may have the answer. As far as utilizing the Toy Story parking lot for the third gate, where would essentially the entrance be for it? In a sense, to actually gain access, because it's not just all about an entrance where you just go up to it and it's okay, then you walk into the park and then boom, there you are. There has to be some sort of pathway. How do they do that off of Harbor?
It's a good question. Yeah, they would have to figure the logistics of that out. I'm not really sure how they could work that in. Actually, a person that would actually be great at answering that would actually be Hey Bricky because
absolutely.
Right, because he's got an architecture background, or he's really good with that urban design stuff. He could probably shake something out and kind of give us an idea. But I mean, I'm sure they could figure it out. It's not.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm for sure they can. I was just more so curious that maybe in time, because again, this is going to be a 40-year project. Maybe not own the streets under, but maybe have some sort of stipulation or clause where they have some sort of partnership or ownership to the street where it's they can have some sort of control as far as the guest flow, so that way it's not backing up the streets, but at the same time it's not causing a a blockage for people to be able to go into the theme park.
Right.
Okay, well, let me ask you guys this. Obviously, if they build a third gate and they make Toy Story the third gate, Bricky did happen to mention in one of his videos recently the Disney, the Walt Disney Skyway that's in Walt Disney World. What do you guys think about that?
I have heard that, and I have actually heard that there's a possible notion of them actually utilizing the people mover system actually for what it was meant to be back when Walt actually wanted to create it, not necessarily as a ride, as an attraction, but actually as a real form of transportation.
The issue I have with the Skyliner and using it as real transportation, and I get it, they use it at Disney World for real transportation, but it sort of accents the monorail and the bus systems, so it's not like your only option. If you make the Skyliner your only option to get to the third park, I think that's an issue, because the Skyliner is one of those things that not everyone's going to feel comfortable doing.
Sure, no, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think you need a system that it's more traditional. Like, you could do a people mover, right, and have kind of like what the Getty Museum does. It's a people mover, but it's a wide one. Like, it's almost like a bus on a people mover track. I could see something like that. Now, I wouldn't mind the Skyliner coming if it was in addition to a people mover or a monorail, or something.
Obviously,
right?
So,
yeah.
Because even if they were to utilize like a shuttle or a bus transportation into the third gate, again, you have to utilize extra land to create a bus station or loading or unloading area. So that's going to take up more room. But obviously, you're going to have some sort of maneuvering, especially if someone, and that's my other question too, is how would they utilize a park hopper method? Because essentially then you would have to use said transportation however they would do it to maneuver it. And I wonder if they would kind of utilize Universal's method in the very beginning of how they're doing with Epic Universe, where you have to buy an individual ticket for Epic Universe before integrating it into with the other parks.
That's gonna change. That's gonna change the game, because right now park hopping is very convenient at Disneyland Resort. It's a walk. It's just a few yards away, whatever.
Sorry, just want to say, and that's why I was saying earlier. I think it'd be even more convenient if the third gate was kind of when that picture you had up before was right there, because you just go right there. It's your park hopping. Boom, boom, boom.
Exactly.
So what you're saying, OG, with it being convenient, so what you're saying is it's just a dream away.
It's just a dream away. Just a dream away, George. Just a dream away, you know. But that's the thing. It makes Disneyland kind of like Walt Disney World. Park hopping is sort of a pain in the butt, right? Let's be honest. Yeah. Because you got to travel. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be to that degree, obviously, but it's gonna make park hopping a little bit more of a pain in the ass now, because you're gonna have to actually kind of go a ways. You can't just walk that. I mean, you could. No. I mean,
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say because the reason why I brought that up to George about how do you get into the third gate into Toy Story was because just across the street you have a bunch of businesses out there, right? So if you don't own that kind of street or that land, because I'm thinking, would you have to demo all those buildings to then make access points? Because if you look at the entryway for both sides of Toy Story, it's all like businesses everywhere, right? So then how are you gonna make an entryway into a new theme park into that section?
It's gonna be a challenge for sure.
Honestly, I think I just got it. I think I just solved the whole entire issue. You turn the Toy Story parking lot into a Toy Story themed theme park, and then no one would want to even go anyway, so they wouldn't have to worry about shit.
There you go. Exactly. Well, I'm sorry, Conductor. You were going to say, sir?
Well, so along like you were saying, you can't have just one form of transportation. I know it's been talked about numerous of times about extending the monorail. That's always an option. And I can't remember offhand if is the convention center, the Anaheim Convention Center, near the Toy Story parking lot, or is it farther away? I'm not sure.
It's on the opposite. It's on the opposite end. So if you're like on Harbor, it's the Toy Story lot is on one side, and then the convention center is further down off of Catella.
Okay. The reason why there was a rumor, and I guarantee it's not going to happen, but they were talking about Disney acquiring the convention center and making that zoned out for something that could possibly be for the third gate. And if they do that, then that could be an entrance in somehow. But again, that's speculation. I'm sure it probably never happened because they would probably have to go through another logistical nightmare with the city council and you know
3 more years.
yeah, 3 more years of nonsense. So
So I guess I would ask you, OG, that the picture, could you bring that back up, please?
Oh yeah, absolutely, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so no, we're talking about like no third gates and whatnot, right? Okay, hear me out. Not saying this is gonna happen, but what if, right?
Here
Let's
we
make
go.
some like what if
Let's order a pizza.
we're going with Mr. Webba's Blue Sky. Okay, let's say this is a third gate, right? It's not an expansion of either park; it's a third gate, right?
sure.
What if Toy Story, because they want to make it like a vacation destination, right?
Mhm.
What if they turn Toy Story not into a theme park but into a water park?
Okay, for me personally,
I have actually heard the rumors of that.
I have. My issue with the water parks is I feel like they're kind of. I mean, Disney's having a hard time even keeping both of those water parks open in Florida. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that like. I don't know. I don't know if there's enough appeal there, and it's kind of. I know it's California, but it has to shut down when it gets too cold.
Yeah.
It leads to issues. I think I would prefer a more traditional park. But go ahead,
Sure.
Conductor.
Well, I was gonna say I'm not opposed to something like that, but I agree with OG. During the wintertime, it would have to be closed. And right now, I know that we're not going through a drought at this minute, but it seems like California has a bad tendency of being in the drought. And the last thing they want to do is waste more water, because it just gives the city government's authority just to charge up the for water bills. So I'm not opposed to it. It's just
Well, and Conductor, to your point about the water stuff, a couple years ago, that's why Disney installed a bunch of fake grass around these parks because it was less watering.
Yeah.
So I would agree on that. What do you think, George? Water park? Would you be down for it? You're more familiar with the Florida water park, so is it something that you'd want to see here in California?
I am.
If
that would be the route Disney would go, I think it would be okay. But in the long run, I don't think the leg life for a water park would be too much, because you have to think, as you had mentioned, OG, with the two water parks are struggling at this point with down at Walt Disney World, and that's the Vacation Kingdom. So I think when you have something that Disneyland is very limited to, that they have to be very careful with their options.
Right.
And I feel like a water park wouldn't be the best route, in my opinion, to utilize that space. To be honest with you, this might be a little bit far-fetched, but maybe possibly use that area for the Disney hotels, for extension for hotels, and then you can clear out all this space for current hotels, because then that would alleviate more room for theme park space.
That's interesting theory. That's interesting. Yeah,
So,
you can build probably 2 hotels or even maybe 3 on that lot. Go ahead,
because
Webba.
I do agree with Mike to that degree, that I think it would be smart in one way to turn all that into the third gate, because you would have boom, boom, boom. They're all interconnected. My only concern with that is only just because of DCA. If DCA didn't need the extra TLC that it needs,
right,
that I would say no brainer. All that would be a third gate, and I would say honestly, take out the hotels, put up more room, clear it all out, and use the Toy Story lot as basically one big giant hotel area for Disney guests.
So I actually wanted to bring this up because while we're looking at this, right? So for a third gate, how much space do you guys want an IP to take up? Because we're looking at these these new lands that are coming out, like Shanghai, Hong Kong. Now Tokyo. What was it? Fantasy Springs, right?
Fantasy Springs.
Yeah.
So I'm worried. So my kind of worry, right? Because Disneyland, I know it's for old schools and it's really packed, right? There's a lot of attractions or rides packed in there, right? But they're also very old schooler, right?
Right.
With the newer stuff, they're big, vast lands, huge attraction show buildings, right? Like if we get a third park, how much should like acreage wise or size wise should a land IP? Because
I-
we know we're going to IP.
Well,
How
okay.
much
So
should
what
it
are
become?
you? What? Okay. Now, when you ask that question, are you referring to as if all this land in front of us becomes the third gate, or if the Toy Story parking lot becomes the?
Either one, because with Toy Story you have 75 acres, right? So
Right.
already that to me is smaller than what this huge rectangular piece is there, right?
Then I would have smaller. I would have smaller lands, to
I-
kind of utilize as much as you possibly can in the Toy Story parking lot. Now, for the Simba, how big is the Simba lot?
Oh, I'm not really sure. I'd have to look. I'm not.
Because Pandora at
I
Disney
thought it was.
World.
I thought it was like 30 acres. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's close to 30 acres. Go ahead.
Okay, so if Pandora around Walt Disney World, like I think not counting the backstage area, I think, or was it counting the backstage? I think it was like, see, I thought it was 12 acres, but I think Jack said it was around 10.
Right.
But even if it was 10, you're taking 1/3 off of the Simba parking lot just for that one land, possibly for one attraction.
Well, and that's
Right,
why,
exactly.
and that's why lands like Fantasy Springs make more sense, because you can take a Fantasy Springs and have 3 or 4 IP in that
Right.
one land, right?
Yes, exactly. And this is why I've always loved, like the old school, like Disneyland and Walt Disney World too, where you have Fantasyland, Tomorrowland, and Frontierland, right? Because you have a more general theme where you can fit multiple IPs in it. It's not just one dedicated IP for it, right? So whereas Fantasy Springs, like I said, you have those 3 IPs in there, and it's freaking great. And look, Peter Pan, you got 2 attractions, and then you got like food places and retail, and then what is it, Frozen, you have Arendelle, right? And then you have food places, you have the ride, so you have all this under one banner of a land area.
No, exactly. I would go the Fantasy Springs route for a lot of this stuff. I'm not opposed to a single IP lands here or there,
Right.
but if they can do that Fantasy Springs kind of model where it's modern for sure, it's a modern theme park experience, but at the same time, it borrows, like you say, Webba, from the lands of yesteryear with having multiple things in one land. So
speaking of that, I have a question for all 3 of you.
Uh-oh.
Whether it's any of the IP that they had mentioned, possibly in the pipeline, or if it's an IP that maybe they haven't mentioned yet, it's just in your minds for Disneyland Forward. What would you like to see? It's like, out of just, if you had to just pick one thing that would just completely satisfy you as part of the project, what would be one thing that you would like? Whether it's a whole land, whether it's a specific IP, an attraction.
I'm going to go
Personally,
last on this one.
Okay, I'll go. You go last. I would do Zootopia because I loved when we had 6 Miles Tall on here, and he showed us his footage of it. I've never seen it like that before. I've never seen like the walkthrough experience of Zootopia. I was really impressed with the land, the scope of that thing, the kinetic energy was through the roof. It was fun. I would love to see Zootopia come to California, and I think you can do it in DCA. Now, the only issue is that and I know 6 Miles kind of said, well, the attraction queue isn't really that problematic, because the jail cells, you're sort of trying to catch a criminal, right? So it's kind of a justice thing. It's not like a problematic element to the jail cells. I still think that might be an issue though here in California, just having that vibe, So they might have to rework that, you know what I'm saying? But I think that overall, I would love to have Zootopia, and I think you can work that into DCA, and I think DCA needs it. Disneyland doesn't really need it right now. Okay, I'm sorry. We got Galaxy's Edge. We just got Mickey and Minnie's, a brand new kind of a reimagined Toontown.
Which is
Disneyland,
fantastic.
Which is fantastic. They've got Disneyland has gotten so much. It can go another 5 to 10 years, I think, with nothing new, really.
And OG, on top of that, sorry, brother, cut you up. On top of that, we also got the new treehouse. Right. And also, we're getting the whole Haunted Mansion new queue thing going on, and then we got Tiana's, and then that whole section, New Orleans and to Critter Country, the whole section is getting new stuff, so we're good.
Yeah.
we're good with
Definitely.
Disneyland, and DCA's over here starving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
And now on your point, OG, I don't know if they decide to bring a Zootopia to DCA, and let's say they do put it in the Hollywood backlot. I don't know if they would have to mod it, because if you think about it, like you said, with the whole jail cell system, that's like justice, right? So if you really want to dive deep into it, it's kind of next to Avengers Campus, and aren't they kind of about justice and keeping world peace and all that? So wouldn't that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, the whole Q thing, the whole premise of that ride is that there was an inmate that escaped, so we're trying to catch them and bring them back. So it is a justice thing for sure. You know, this is a criminal that we're catching. It's not just it's different than like the problematic elements of like the police right now with like with the brutality and stuff like that. This is actually we're assuming a character that actually did a crime and broke out. So yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, I would like Zootopia. That would kind of be my choice. I think that if you can work that into DCA, all the other things on the table are so Disneyland centric. Fancy Springs, Arendelle. That's all Disneyland stuff. I mean, Wakanda is. I mean, you can do that in DCA. But then I have my OCD issues with Wakanda because it'll be separate from Avengers Campus, and it's the Star Tours.
Just like how if you were to put Frozen into the Stitch parking lot, and it's separate from Fantasyland.
It's weird, and I've said it before too, and we didn't bring it up yet in this channel. Latin culture is massively important here in California. Why don't you utilize some of the space for something Coco? I just think that would be absolutely incredible. You can really do an immersive land for Coco. Like I said many times, you can have the food, like the little food stands, and have the smells and little stands with like maybe alcoholic beverages, right, George, and things like that. I think a Coco land would be phenomenal, and it makes so much sense in DCA. Now, that is one of the franchises that we've seen in these articles in these Hollywood trades that they are kind of considering. You got to put that in DCA. That would be also another one.
And they honestly can utilize Coco without even touching Disneyland Forward. They could clear out that whole entire Paradise Gardens area, and it's right off of the pier. And Coco's Pixar, and
you said before, and it's true, Disney beta test stuff, right? So before Avengers Campus was built, they had a lot of Avengers stuff in Hollywoodland. They were testing if Avengers and Marvel would do well in that area, right? We see a lot of Coco and Latin stuff over in that Paradise Gardens. I wonder if they've been kind of beta testing how it works in DCA. I'm sure I know they've gotten a great response with it. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. What do you think, Webba? What would you want in the parks?
So to kind of go off what you were saying, OG, about like all the kind of fairy tale stuff, right? Like the princess fairy tale stuff, right? Like Arendelle, stuff like that would belong to like Disneyland, which I do agree, right? At the same time, what I want to see more than anything is pretty much any awesome land or attraction based off the movies from like the Renaissance era. You know, something from Aladdin, Lion King, I don't know, Hunchback. I don't know, something like freaking amazing. Like I want something like super cool. I was something from this classic Disney movies, because I feel like even in the parks, I know we have Pinocchio and Snow White and stuff like that, but I feel like we're still missing a lot. There's so many movies you could do.
So let me ask you this, Mike. If we were to get a domestic Fantasy Springs, of how Disney can actually go about doing it, where they may not have to wait till June 6th of 2029. Is kind of create their own rendition of Tokyo's Fantasy Springs, but maybe call it something different and maybe use a trio of different IP. Maybe not use Frozen, Tangled, and Peter Pan, but use the other IPs.
Yes, exactly. Like that, I would be so down for that. Like, yes, bring that. Like again, I was telling, I love this Fantasy Spring theme so much, guys. You have no idea.
It's dope.
It's dope. It looks amazing. I love it's a lot. It's all like fairy tale, right? The way like the rock work, the water, the grass, everything looks so cool, and so kind of you have that nature-ish part aspect into it. So yeah, I would like something like that. I would love to see like Beauty and the Beast, like that type of attraction here. Yeah, I don't know, just something I want to like the classic Disney movies. Again, I'm not against Zootopia. Like if we have that, cool, I'm down for that, right? Just anything that we've seen from these international parks, I would love to have here, whether it's whether it's Zootopia or Arendelle or whatever, or for something new, I'm down for it, right? But here's the thing though, guys, is with Disneyland Forward, it has to be the quality, right? We need the budgets to actually be in this
Yeah.
for them to make it that quality of a product.
Well, because Disney spent, like you said, 3 years to get this zoning.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you're gonna spend 3 years and pull and kind of use your political muscle in the city of Anaheim to get this done.
Yeah.
You got to put something in there that's high quality. I agree with you, Webba. You cannot do a Toy Story Land. You
Toy
cannot
Story
have,
Land. Yeah.
You could, yeah, you
That's,
cannot.
that's what it's going to be. A good Toy Story.
Don't you dare put that into the universe. Don't you dare put that into the universe. Yeah,
Well,
no. Can you imagine?
Woody riding Rex?
Oh my god.
I'm telling you.
Well, but see, OG, because that seems that when I was on the phone with George the other night, that's what he was saying, was that this is Disney, this is the Disneyland Resort's one shot to get this done right, and they need to.
They need to. What do you think, Conductor? What would you put in if it was up to you? You're the president of the parks. It's your decision. What do you do?
You know, I like the whole Fantasy Springs idea. For me, I have several options. You know, the way I'm taking again reference from Hey Bricky. I think it was, what was it, the Stitch slot, or it was the not, was it the symbol? I can't even remember. It's been so long. But putting the World of Frozen in. But again, that goes into Disneyland. Now, if we're gonna only talk about DCA, there are several things I would like to have happen. One is do something with Hollywood Studios, whether that's extending. No, I'm serious.
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
Extending Avengers Campus, either putting Zootopia there, or you know, doing something with the lagoon. Don't get me wrong, Paradise Lagoon is awesome at night. The World of Color, hey, I'm all for it. But that is a huge footprint, like OG was saying about bringing, you know, Coco or something to kind of, you know, not only bring Latin American to the resort, but you have to really think about it. The Southern California, the people that surround the Disneyland Resort that go to the resort, you know, they do have some Hispanic culture, but again, they've pumped so much money into the World of Color. That's probably the last option they would ever do, is drain it and actually put something there. But you know, the way I see it is the biggest issue DCA has, like OG is saying, you got Hollywood Studios that is basically becoming the second Tomorrowland of the Disneyland Resort.
Right. Exactly.
You know, you got one brand new ride for Avengers Campus, even though there's 2 rides. I don't even consider Guardians of the Galaxy the second ride, because that's basically a reskin of an old attraction. You got other, like, you got the little Toy Story area in Paradise Pier, where you got a Toy Story ride in Tomorrowland that shouldn't even be in Tomorrowland, that should be over there. You got the Redwood Creek Forest area. Don't get me wrong, hey, there's a lot of cool things that go on in there. It's a nice kind of relaxing area, but I kind of feel that's a dead spot. So I don't know if you guys agree, but between Hollywood Studios and that area, those are 2 dead spots right there. Even the Paradise Lagoon, where World of Color is. So actually, if you really want to think about it, you got 3 dead spots in DCA.
Well,
if it was up to OG, I mean, he would be demolishing the whole entire pier, because
I would. I was just gonna say that. I think the pier looks way too carnival-ish. And that's the thing too. It really frustrates me because Disneyland Resort.
If you do that, OG, you let me know, because I'm gonna go full Miley Cyrus. I want to sit on it and there's just swinging. I came in like a wrecking ball.
Right,
I can see it happening.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because Disneyland Resort, and it drives me nuts that, like, it's kind of like pinned as like its locals thing, which is hard because it's like Disneyland is a global entity. It shouldn't be pinned as a locals thing. It was when Walt Disney, when he did his speech, it was an inspiration to all the world, not an inspiration to Southern California locals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I want it to really. I want this whole thing, DCA included, to really scream like just a world class destination.
And you
right?
said you would do something more like of a port.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Disney Sea harbors and stuff. You can keep the lagoon and keep World of Color, but build a fleshed out, really immersive area around it. Maybe you do a whole Latin area around it. I mean, whatever you want to do, but let's build some real theming here. It always bothered me. I mean, and people got on me last year when I was complaining about how you can see the Comcast building, the skyscraper from Nintendo World. Yeah, I'm a stickler for like sightlines like that, and I'm just as picky with it, even more so with Disney. I hate how you can see the convention center behind the Incredicoaster. I think that looks really cheesy and just terrible. So I would get rid of the Incredicoaster too. I mean, I know a lot of fans will be mad at that. You can put a good, solid, amazing e-ticket there instead to replace that. But build something that really immerses you in the area. That carnival area, that pier, just doesn't do it. It looks cheap. It solidifies Disney optically as a locals thing because that looks like a Knott's Berry Farm area. Yeah. And it's just, I would put something way more elaborate in there. And I know a lot of fans don't want to hear that because they love Incredicoaster, but that's just where I stand with it. And you can put something fast in there to replace it if you want to. Just have it actually themed and actually immersive. No Jack on sticks,
Yeah. So I have two questions for Theme Park Conductor. Sure. All right, because I already talked to you guys about this. Yeah. So, one, what do you think of the idea of taking out the Ariel from DCA and putting Ariel in Disneyland, right? Because in my opinion, that's where she belongs, is in Disneyland, not in by this Pixar Pier thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not even gonna fight that, Webba. I agree with the Italiano. It needs to go into Disneyland. I'm not even gonna fight that. No.
Okay, so the other thing is with the whole Grizzly Peak area, right? Because now we have Big Al there, right? So what if the Country Bush? I would love if the Country Bears got brought back into that area somehow.
Sure.
Then if let's say. What if they made that whole area, including where Soarin' is, and that restaurant that's right there, you had that as like Bear Country or something, and you turn Soarin' into like a tailspin attraction. You can keep it as the same ride system, but you can have it be tailspin, right? Because you got airplanes and bears, right? And then the restaurant, you can just move Hungry Bear over to the restaurant right next to that. And now you have a whole kind of Bear Country land because you got Grizzly Peak, you got Country Bears, then you got Tailspin, and then now you have a Hungry Bear restaurant there.
Wait, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure. You're saying move Hungry Bear from Disneyland over to DCA. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it would make sense because you would have the restaurant right next to the attraction.
Yeah, but where would you put it though, Hungry Bear? If you were to put it in that Grizzly Peak area, where would you put that?
No, yeah, so. Do you know
as
that
long as they keep their honey spice chicken sandwiches, I'll be happy no matter
what. So once you go right off of Buena Vista Street, there's that restaurant leading. It's before Soarin'. It's to the right.
You mean the Smoke Jumpers Grill?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
I wouldn't either. I would actually go for that myself. I think honestly, Soarin', to me, I mean, this might be the unpopular opinion, but I think a lot of the video footage is completely outdated. It's somewhat distorted. I feel like the screens need to be updated for like the position of how you're sitting. Otherwise, you get it like an erectile dysfunctional Paris scene with the Eiffel Tower. It's like, I don't know. I just feel like that was something that worked back in the early 2000s. It was part of that technology. I think we're so far in advance. Yeah. And that's a huge, massive show building.
Well, and George, here's the too, right? And guys, the reason why I brought up Tailspin is because, Disney, they want all this IP stuff, right? Well, now you have an IP you can put in there.
Right.
So I think...
I will say, Ebba, your ideas are very, very exciting. Very exciting.
There you go.
Yes. Very exciting.
Go ahead, Webba. I do apologize. I just had to throw the joke in there. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's
well,
good.
Well, at least he takes it down to the bare necessities.
Right,
Right,
exactly,
and here's the
exactly.
thing too, right? If you had this bear country, then you can have like all the bear characters out, like
Sure.
Baloo and maybe like again bring back the country bears, right? And so you can have all these other type of characters that we know from IP that are bears in this area. Now you can have meet and greets with, right? I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I,
No,
I
absolutely.
think so. I
Yeah.
actually think so. The reason being is because if they move that restaurant from Critter Country in the DCA in that area, like you're talking about, Webba, that gives Disney the opportunity, if they don't want to replace that restaurant with another restaurant in Critter
Yeah.
Country, that gives them more space to do whatever they want with either Tiana's or whatever they want to do in that area, because they're, again, I'm going to quote Hey Bricky, basically right behind Critter Country, there's that parking lot where he was explaining where the world of Frozen would fit perfectly right there. And if you do that, that would kind of free it up a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, there's options. I mean, this is crazy. This whole Disneyland Forward thing has really opened up a whole new world. No, trademark, right? No, no, a whole new world. So I think it's gonna be interesting to see how the direction they go in. Potrock is claiming that they know what they want. We'll see if that's the case. Italiano, welcome back, sir. You had to go take a poop or what?
No. Being that I'm on my phone, my phone percentage is at 15%. So
okay. No, sorry, I got a frog in my throat. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up anyway. So
yeah, sure. After the fact, I grabbed my charger.
but Conductor, it is awesome. Always having you on. We got to have you on again very, very soon.
Absolutely. The highlight that I can take away from this video is always hanging out with the Italiano and OG55 that just hit that 5,000 subscriber count. Congratulations again, sir.
Thank you.
And
Thank you very much.
Entire OG family. But I think we can all agree that many eyes and much focus is going to be on this year's D23, and we're all hoping the absolute best. And again, I'm hoping there's no rocks thrown in the pond, as a reference is said. I hope it's all smooth sailing, and I look forward to seeing what the future of the Disneyland Resort has to offer for not only myself, but possibly future kids, and whatnot, and future family that comes along and whatnot. Because if they're talking about, bringing experiences for the next 20 to 40 years, hopefully they can do it. I'm rooting for them.
Yeah. Or in George's case, kids he doesn't know about,
Yeah, well, that's true. No comment on that.
Conductor,
I'll really be broke.
Right, exactly. You're gonna have to give your both kidneys,
Exactly.
George has one kid in every country.
There you go. Exactly.
Oh, boy.
Mr. Worldwide over here.
Hey, George, is that why you keep going on those Disney cruises?
Oh.
Hey, any excuse to get me on a Disney ship, I'll take what I can get.
There
exactly.
You go.
Well, hey, here's the thing. Just don't ask George what he's doing on the islands, okay?
Right, you know what I'm saying, George? But Conductor, if you could remind everybody where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. So on Twitter, now known as X, you can find me at Theme Conductor. On Instagram, you can find me at Theme Park Conductor. And on YouTube, you can find me at Theme Park Conductor, where I'm conducting the news as I conduct the stories.
There it is. And see, he does a little spiel. He's got a whole spiel just like you, George. You got some competition, man. You got some competition.
We might have to. We might have to do a rap battle. I'm going to be ready for you, George.
Oh. We got Kendrick over here. What about you, George? What about you? Where can they find you on social media, sir?
You can find me on social media on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There it is. There it is. Mr. Webba, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. We got to let you go, man, because, you know, the police scanners are going crazy without you on the streets.
You have to chase that escaped convict out of Zootopia.
Yeah, exactly. There you go, exactly.
So I guess I'm part of the attraction then, right?
Right, exactly. If you let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Of course. Well, OG, thank you so much for having me on. As always, it's been a pleasure talking to you gentlemen about this. So exciting. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter, and here on YouTube, OG55, Mr. Webba at Webslinger760.
There we go. So everybody at home, to our 2 hour and 14-minute crew, thank you for sticking with us today, whenever this video shows up. We appreciate you all here at OG55. And we do want at OG55, we want to thank everybody. We did, as Conductor said, recently hit 5,000 subscribers, big milestone. And we want to thank everybody that's ever liked our video, shared our videos, came on the show, anyone who's been just a part of our family. We do appreciate you. So thank you. Comment down below with all your thoughts on everything. I know this was kind of a deep dive into Disneyland Forward and the possibilities. So if you have some ideas that we didn't cover, please, by all means, comment down below. If you want to comment on the ideas that we brought to the table, also comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. And if Daddy Josh does not deliver at the D23 fan event, I think we're all going to have our inner Kendrick come out, right?
I'm the biggest hater. I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. I hate the way.
We're all going to be the biggest haters because we're going to be all so mad if you do some blue sky stuff again. Daddy Josh, please, we are rooting for you. Do it. Go balls out. Go full Kevin Feige at that thing and just give us a banger like Parks panel and get fans excited. We need it.
Okay.
We need it.
Just on the side note, if Daddy Josh doesn't deliver, I'm voting the Italiano as a candidate.
There he is.
Yes.
There he is.
I will take on Mr. It's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow any day.
There you go.
Perfect.
And then the next day when George gets in there, we'll have the Carl's Jr. food truck at downtown Disney.
Wait, hold on a second. But does that mean though that we all get special access?
Oh, of course, bro. That's not gonna
red carpet.
Yeah, dude, that's not gonna change, man. You know, that's not gonna change. You know, you got to keep that special access, dude. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But thank you all so much for watching this episode of OG55, and until the next time.
세상이 누구에게나 공평하게 추악해. 객기가 같았어.